But first this afternoon, my studio guest is the Senator for Queensland, Pauline Hanson, One Nation Senator. Originally entered Parliament in the 1990s as a member of the House of Representatives when John Howard was Prime Minister. You know her incredible story, ended up in prison, then released from prison. Then it was found that she shouldn't have been in prison in the first place. She stood again, is now a senator. Pauline Hanson, it's good to interview you in studio at last. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Steve.
As you know, a senior female cabinet member of the Liberal Party, Kelly O'Dwyer, has announced she's resigning. It's not just for family reasons, she actually wants to have more children. But I wonder what your take is on whether there are enough women in politics in Australia.
Steve, my attitude to politics is the best person for the job. I don't push candidates in certain areas purely based on they've got to be female. I think that the feminist movement has, pushed it too much, because I was at a function the other week, and someone said to me, "Well, don't you think it's good? There's more women in these positions?" And I said, "Yes, it is, and no, it isn't." I said, "I've got 3 sons and one girl," and I said, "What do I tell my sons? Don't bother going to university. Don't put yourself forward for jobs or positions because you've got no chance because you're not a female." Everyone in life strives whatever they want to do. Whether you want to start up your business or go for a position or whatever job it may be. It should not be based on you're going to get a step in the door because you're a female. It should be the best person for the job.
How are you treated in politics? You personally, Pauline Hanson, the woman, the female politician, the female senator. How are you treated in the Australian Parliament?
Very well. No problem. If you look at Pauline Hanson, the politician, and what my politics are, that's a different matter. Because that's where I feel that they, especially on the Labor side and the Greens, they don't respect me for the fact I've won my seat in the Parliament the same as they did. I have a right to have a difference of opinion, and I have a right to express that. But as far as being a female, I don't believe I'm treated any differently to anyone else.
So you think when you're targeted or attacked in Parliament, they attack you over policies and issues, not over the fact that you're a particular gender?
Correct.
Is that encouraging? That's encouraging. I'm surprised to hear you say that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? How does the Liberal Party treat you?
They treat me very well. They talk to me. They work with me. We're there to do a job, right? And they have to negotiate with me because I'm one of the senators in there that has a balance of power in the Senate. So you have to talk, you have to negotiate. And what is the best outcome? Where do we go with legislation? What is going to be the best outcome for the people and for the country? Now, some of them in there have no interest in talking to you or discussing anything with you. Like Penny Wong, she's never even spoken to me in 2.5 years.
Senator Penny Wong?
Has never spoken to me.
The Labor Senator Penny Wong has never spoken to you personally in
Correct.
Parliament?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Steve, I know who talks to me and who doesn't talk to me in that Parliament. And I know the ones who actually personally attack me with personal insults. But I'm a big girl. It is a cesspit, and everyone's trying to have their own agenda and do what they feel they need to do.
The argument is that because it's a cesspit, that the cesspit would change if there was less blokey, less sort of toxic white males in Parliament, that it would be less of a cesspit if there was more women in there,
no,
people from more diverse backgrounds.
Totally wrong.
Why?
Because Sarah Hanson-Young is the most nastiest piece of work on the floor of Parliament. She actually will dish it out to people, and then she sits down with a great big grin on her face as if she's personally gone out there just to attack you. I think that is worse. You'll get at some of the what comes out of some of the females' mouths is worse than the men. So I don't put it down to that. It is the individual, not whether they're male or female. I'm sick and tired of our society now pushing the female agenda, and we are forgetting about the men out there.
You had to work very hard. I mean, I recall in the 1990s when I was working as a producer for the 7:30 Report program, when you first got elected to the House of Representatives. And I think I was the second person to your house. I was sent down there post haste, and you had to work very hard to get there. And you were very much, my impression was at the time, you were there as an isolated woman, with no friends. And
True.
I'm surprised to hear you say that it's not about gender, that you aren't treated differently because of your gender. You don't think it would make any difference? It's about personal values or the character of the people.
Parliament is about having people there with the ability, the knowledge, and not only that, more importantly, the dedication, the passion to actually want to get out there and fight for the Australian people. It is not a job to sit on the back benches and just think this is an easy ride, collect your pay. People are screaming out there because they can't get the politicians to listen to them. And that's why we have changeover of governments. There's really no long-term of government anymore. So yes, I had to fight for my position. I kept standing again. I got called a serial candidate. I had everything thrown at me, bar the kitchen sink. And as your intro, yes, I've been to prison for my political views. That was political by all means, but that's in the past. I'm very fortunate and very honoured to hold the position as a senator.
My guest is Senator Pauline Hanson, from the One Nation Party, Senator for Queensland. She holds the balance of power in federal parliament. Do you expect to hold the balance of power in the Senate after the federal election, which I'm assuming will be in May of this year, but that's my assumption? Do you expect to still hold the balance of power in the Senate after that time?
When it comes to politics, if you expect anything, you will not, you'll lose all hope. What you've got to do is present to the Australian people what you are there for, what you want to achieve. It is up to the Australian people to decide where the vote will go, who they want in there to represent them. So I don't expect anything. Did I expect to win 4 seats the last election? No, I didn't. I was very fortunate to have got 2 senators, myself and Malcolm Roberts, elected in 2016, after such a long time of not being in politics. And I took over a political party that was just about finished. So it's been a lot of work for me to pull that all back, to get 3 members elected in Western Australia, 1 in Queensland State Parliament, and hopefully after this next election, I'm working for it. I do want more senators in that floor of Parliament. I would like to be in a position of balance of power on the floor of Parliament, because whoever is government, we take an objective view to look at the legislation and base it, is it right for the country? And that's why I do it. And if it's not, make amendments or try and get the government to see why it needs to change. And we have done that.
It looks highly probable that the Labor Party will be the next government of Australia and that Bill Shorten will be the next Prime Minister. If it's true, as you've told me, that Senator Penny Wong, as leader of the Labor Party in the Senate, has not spoken to you in 2.5 years, will that change if Labor becomes the government in May?
That's a question you'll have to ask Penny Wong.
I'm still stunned that she's never spoken to you in 2.5 years personally.
Maybe.
Is this not even in the corridors, behind the corridors of power?
No. She talks to my staff and they say she's a very, very nice person. But
have you tried to speak with her?
No, I haven't.
Is there a reason why not?
I haven't made an approach to actually speak to her. You can tell the body language.
My guest is Queensland Senator Pauline Hanson. This is ABC Radio Brisbane. Steve Austin's my name. You've been a senator since July 2016. It's your second stint. Previously, you've been in the House of Representatives in the late 90s. Have your personal values or political philosophy or ideas changed in this time? Have they shifted at all?
In general, no, I don't believe they have. Probably the difference now, Steve, is how I express the policies. When I first came into it many years ago, everyone was horrified of what I said and my maiden speech. And yet they're, trying to get the message out. And I've got to be honest, a lot of the media took out snippets of what they wanted to put across to sensationalise what I was saying and didn't look at it objectively of my whole message as a whole. That's why people came to my meetings. I had hundreds, if not thousands of people that came to my meetings. Halls were overflowing. And they'd go home and they'd say, what we saw on TV was not what you said in that hall. So I was up against getting the correct message out. And a lot of people these days say, I wish we had listened to you years ago, because what you said then has actually happened.
So your values and ideas haven't changed, but the way you try and communicate has changed.
I think so, and that's what people are actually saying to me. Steve, I was a new kid on the block then, and it was so new to me what was happening. I had everyone pulling at me. I had such a groundswell of support from the people, and I had a lot of other people coming on board with me, or there would be if they could be but never have been, who thought they could actually take over and wanted to control me and do what they wanted to do. So it was very difficult at that time. I think over the years with knowledge and experience, and that's why this time around, with total control of the party and the position that I hold, and the credibility and the knowledge that I've gained over the years, I think that's held me in good stead.
At some point you're going to leave politics, either by choice or by vote, but at some point you're going to move on. Do you have any sort of succession plan, any strategy in place for someone else that you anoint to take over the party after you leave? You just told me that you've been looking after grandchildren over Christmas. Yeah. At some point, like all of us, you're going to say, I actually much prefer the company of my children and grandchildren than I do of working. So have you got a succession plan, or a plan where you hand over the reins or the control of the party and say, it's time for the party to go to the next level or the next phase?
Well, I'm hoping to be in that process now of building the party in the next level, the next phase, with people who are standing for One Nation or coming on board, and even those people working around me as my staff, whether they be staff or whether they be in the head office or as executives around the country, because I can't do it alone. It is a team effort by all means, and it's it's very, very hard, because I haven't got it in me a third time to come back, because I'm 65 this year, but I feel I've got the energy and dedication, the passion to carry on for some time yet, and I will be standing again for the Senate at not this election. No, I'm not up for this election, but the one after that. But with
when does your Senate term finish? I'm sorry, when does your Senate term
3 years.
So 3 years from now?
Yes, I've got another 3 years.
Okay, right.
And it's like bringing good people on board, as I have done with Mark Latham, who's now the New South Wales State Leader. I've got a great leader in Western Australia, and Colin Ticknell. And other people, and hopefully if we can get Malcolm Roberts elected back into the Senate in Queensland, I've got other great candidates, and talk about females. I've got some great female candidates as well that we're yet to announce, who are standing also for the Senate throughout the country.
So you'll be announcing specifically women as candidates for Senate positions at the coming federal election?
Most definitely. Of course.
How many can I ask?
They've got it on their merit. There possibly 3, and that's lead Senate positions.
But as far as you're concerned, they've been chosen as lead Senate positions not because of gender, but because of personal merit.
Correct. Most definitely.
And these are in the other states of Australia.
Are you stunned by that?
Not necessarily, no. I'm just...
Because I'm up front and I call it the way it is. I give everyone an opportunity. We've opened up for pre-selection process to happen, and it went through a pre-selection process, and people have been selected on their merits by all means, what they can offer, because Steve, I can't do my job if I don't have the right people beside me.
Your party has had difficulty holding it together, like all smaller parties do. Clive Palmer's party had the same thing, had the same issues. I think Katter's Australia parties had similar issues. Your parties had similar issues. Why is it so difficult for smaller parties like yours, like Palmer, you're not an Australia party as it now is, and the Katter party to hold some of the different personalities or characters together when the political heat is on?
Well, what's happened with us in 2016 was Malcolm Roberts was under the Constitution, Section 44 of the Australian Constitution, as was other senators with other political parties. I think there wasn't one political party that was not touched by that, so they all had problems with that. As far as Senator Brian Burston, when he actually knew he wasn't going to get top of the ticket, number 1 on the ticket, that's why he actually has turned vindictive.
Sure, but why is it so hard for smaller parties to hold their teams together? Is there something else going? These are just people who are self-interested who said, if I'm not number one, I'm out.
Yeah, look, it's very hard for minor political parties. You know, people take a big gamble of getting associated with a political party, especially minor ones, if they're ever going to get elected. So if they don't get elected, is that going to ruin their political chances further down the track, or their jobs? And a lot of them are possibly opportunists, whereas they probably think they've got more an opportunity with the major political parties, but really, is it going to be satisfying to them to be of the political party that they are only a yes person and they're dealing with policies and that they don't truly believe in?
25 minutes past 4. This is ABC Radio Brisbane. Steve Austin's my name. Queensland One Nation Senator Pauline Hanson is my guest. In the Australian newspaper, you've accused the United Australia Party of poaching potential candidates for the upcoming federal election. And as a result, you've apparently vowed to withhold preferences in the North Queensland seat of Herbert. You know, is Clive Palmer and his party a threat to your voter base or the One Nation voter base?
I don't believe so. A couple of my candidates, of course, Brian Burston, who was a senator elected under One Nation, he went over across to Clive Palmer after he tried to join up with an alliance with David Leyonhjelm and Corey Bernardi and a couple of others. Then he actually tried to go to the Nationals. Then finally he's gone to Clive Palmer. Well, good riddance to him. So if Clive can deal with him, he does nothing. That's why I didn't want him in the One Nation Party. There was a couple of another candidate that went across to Clive Palmer. That candidate was asking from the party, me, $10,000 a month. And I said, you're not going to get paid $10,000 a month. And so I went across to Clive Palmer. So these are people you definitely don't want, and I'm glad to see the back end of them.
So this is in North Queensland, this is a person?
Yes.
Okay, a candidate for your party was asking for $10,000 a month?
Correct.
What, living expenses or
Yes.
something? Or,
yes.
And you said we can't
because
pay
Because they lost their job and they wanted us to pay for it.
Okay.
And it wasn't going to happen. And no one gets paid that. And so, you know, these people are shallow to me. You know, it's not easy. No one gave me a helping hand. I worked extremely hard to actually get, to get elected.
I accept that you've worked hard and you've had a rough ride in there. It's said that you are now wealthy as a result of being an Australian politician. Are you a millionaire, Pauline Hanson? Are you wealthy?
Am I wealthy? You know, the greatest wealth that I have is having fantastic health, and I have my children, grandchildren.
That doesn't really answer my question, though.
All right, no, it doesn't. But I'll tell you something. I don't value it. I own my own home, and I thank the Australian people for that, because when I was actually charged with that criminal charge, that the government, even though I've been exonerated from it, and I actually was nearly about to lose my house. I had the house, my property, before I got into politics, Steve. I worked hard for that and running my takeaway shop. And I've been one of those people who goes without. Nothing was new. Everything was second hand, even to these days. And I actually help my children and other people before I go wasting any money, because I know what it's damned hard, because I went one time with 2 kids with not enough food and I made sure the kids were fed. So I've had those hard times in my life. I'm not going to apologise to anyone if I own my own home or what I have now at the moment, but I can assure you, from 2.5 years in politics, from 1996 to 1998, and then again from 2016 till now, that if people want to say that I've made my money out of the politics, I haven't.
All right. At the moment in Queensland, both leaders of the major political parties are here. Bill Shorten, the federal leader of the opposition, is in Gladstone, I think, heading to Townsville this afternoon. I apologise to the Labor Party if I've got that wrong. And I think Scott Morrison, Prime Minister,
is up at Cooktown.
Is in Cairns. Or Cooktown, okay, there you go.
He's going to Cooktown.
All right, so
yes.
the major political parties are here. And the discussion seems to be that the state that's particularly up for grab, like a swing state, is here in Queensland. So as far as your party is concerned, One Nation is concerned, what do you think are the most significant issues for the state of Queensland going into the federal election, which has not been announced, but it's got to be held by around about May? What do you think, or does One Nation think, are the most significant, pressing federal issues for the state of Queensland?
For central Queensland, you've got the Adani mine coal mining. You're going to have, out of that coal mining, you're going to look at about 8,000. Some even have predicted about 10,000 jobs out of that. And then after the mine is set up, you're looking at 1,460 odd jobs that are set up there. The amount of money it will bring to Queensland and benefit, and also benefit India with coal and giving electricity to the people over there and bring them out of poverty. But a lot of people in Queensland, central Queensland and just north, are looking at the Adani mine. I think it's disgraceful the way that has been held up time and time again once they've actually, been through all the procedures, court cases, everything thrown at them, and still doesn't. And you've got Bill Shorten down south. He says, no, we're going to stop the coal mine. He gets in Queensland and he wants to have the coal mine. He's sitting on the fence, and I think it's disgraceful. Be honest with the people in Queensland, if that be the case, and get behind Anastasia Palaszczuk and tell her to get the mine going.
Is there anything else other than the Adani coal mine that you think is important?
Water is a big issue.
Water?
Yes, it is. If we do not get water to central Queensland, we have big problems with the droughts that have gone on up at Longreach for about 7-8 years. I am pushing for the Bradfield scheme to actually water inland Australia, which will flow down through into the Murray-Darling, which needs to be looked after. So these are big things for Queensland. Jobs is very important. I actually came up with the scheme that the government picked up with my apprenticeship scheme, so to giving opportunity to businesses out there to take on apprentices and paying them 75% of the first year's wage, 50% of the second, 25% of the third. So that's 1,600 jobs out there. So jobs is very important, and for Queensland, yes, the drought needs to be addressed and definitely the coal mining. So let's get jobs for Queensland.
I appreciate you coming into the studio. Thanks very much, Senator Hanson.
Thank you, Steve.